game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Bucs fans were there too. The Bug.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lead Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little.
No, my camera's broke.
Howdy ho, howdy hey, how the hell is everybody? It's been a while. Joey is out today, and so is there a couple of other, but J-Lo and Tone's here to lead you guys through Super Bowl Sunday here on the Buccaneers Super Bowl show. Gene, I haven't heard from him either, so I'm guessing it's J-Lo and Tone's here to catch you guys up on the latest and greatest Bucs news, give our Super Bowl guesses, our prop bets, and so much more on today's show. It's been a while, J-Lo. You're back in the Chicagoland area, enjoying the day, enjoying the Super Bowl, my friend. It's been quite the weekend so far. How the hell you feeling today?
Feeling great, man. It was a fun day yesterday. The Lightning won. Gators won a big one against the number one team in basketball. And now we're here Super Bowl Sunday, man. I'm ready to party. Let's do it.
Yeah, we got a big day on tap, a lot of gambling to get to. We got a big party, annual year to talk about, and so much more. But I have returned. I was away on the high seas for about a week or so. It looks like we might get a JC Allen appearance today, ladies and gentlemen. As Christopher Cole says, hey, everyone, JC Allen is saying link me. So we will definitely provide JC Allen the link. Breaking news, what a treat. Sports Illustrated Zone. JC Allen looks like he is set to join our Saturday showdown on a Sunday. That will be incredible, as JC is one of the greats. Ain't that right, Jayla?
Yes, he is. On top of everything, enjoy his podcasts, Pirate Parlay. He gives out great information. Just a great dude overall. Hopefully he joins us.
Yeah, so we're anticipating the arrival of JC Allen. Christopher Cole says, hey, everybody, we got a loaded show here early on. As I said, I'm returning from the Caribbean. It's great to be back talking some football. I was out of the U.S. for a while as we get JC. Speaking of out for a while, great JC Allen's been out of the program for a while, but he is back making his return. JC, how the hell you doing, brother? JC? We'll see if we could get him going. J-Lo, could you hear him or no?
I can't hear him now.
We'll see how, hey, there he goes. So maybe something happened. But JC Allen will be back shortly. But J-Lo, feels good being back talking about football. We do have a lot of news to get to on the Bucs front and NFL front. In general, JC, we're like a Sprint commercial. Can you hear me now?
I can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, brother. You are a little choppy, but we'll make it happen. We'll make it work. How's your Super Bowl Sunday?
Super Bowl Sunday's kicking off nice. I slept in a little bit. I got bathroom renovations going on, so those are almost done, which is nice. And just threw down a couple parlays over at Hard Rock, and I'll be going to the Verizon Fan Fest down in Tampa, mingling with some NFL legends like Derek Brooks and some other people who will be there. We'll figure out who's that when we get there. But yeah, excited, man. Excited for Super Bowl Sunday. Just want a good, clean game. I hate both of these teams equally. So
I hate it too, but we'll rip the Band-Aid off. What prop bets do you like, or who do you like, JC? If you could only pick one out of these two beloved squads of yours, as Olivia says, what a true happy Super Bowl. JC, this is like picking between two of your least favorite wrestlers,
Right. I mean, I don't have any single prop bets. They're all parlays. But I think Saquon Barkley over 30 yards in the first. I think that's money in the first quarter. I like that a lot. I know the Chiefs have a good run defense, but Saquon's special.
Yeah, I like that too, and that could come on one run, right? Like you
Right.
only need one Saquon breakaway to get that. I keep going back and forth, JC, because I'm a Tom Brady guy. I liked him before his Bucs days, obviously. So I would personally like to see him maintain the record for most Super Bowls if I had a choice in it. But I do hate the Eagles a lot. But JC, kind of tell before we get to some Bucs talk here, kind of tell us where your head's at and how you think this game will play out.
Yeah, it's one of these games where it's hard to bet against Mahomes, right? They have the experience. They've been there. They've done that. This is what, their 5th Super Bowl in a row. It's hard to bet against that. And, like, me personally, like, I can't stand Philly. I hate Philadelphia. I'm and my grudge more so to the Chiefs. I feel like I'm in a role reversal here, right? Because, as you guys know, I'm a Patriots fan, and this is what you guys must have felt like when we were winning all those championships up there. So it's just kind of like Chiefs overkill, but you can't take away the fact that you're watching greatness in Mahomes. And I feel like for me, I have the Chiefs. I think I'm rooting for the Chiefs just for history's sake, so I can be there and say, hey, I watched history unfold with Mahomes and the Chiefs winning the first three-peat, even though the Packers technically did it, but technically didn't do it. Obviously, I wasn't alive for that. But then the other part of me is like, well, if Mahomes keeps winning, then like now people are going to be like, well, who's a better quarterback, Brady or Mahomes? And it's Brady. But if they win another one, it narrows that conversation of who the greatest quarterback of all time, I think, is, especially if Mahomes keeps winning. He's still got many years of football left ahead of him. What is he, 30 years old, 31? Like, he's still got plenty of years to continue to capitalize. So that's where I'm at. That's where my head's at right now. I don't know. I hate both things going on, but let's just have a good, clean Super Bowl, some decent scoring, and let's go.
That's kind of where I'm at, JC, exactly, because, I think really if Mahomes wins this one, I know he still needs 3 more to tie, but I'd probably say he will end up at least tying Brady eventually. To me, if he loses this one, I don't think he gets there. I think this is a big make or break in terms of trajectory for Patrick Mahomes in his path to catching Brady. And as Tony Ace says, Eagles fans make it tough to root for the Eagles. That's very true as well. So it's one of those things where, you're either going to have to be Team Swifty or Team Scumbag, I guess, with the Eagles fans. Really,
Do you think if Mahomes wins 3 in a row, that somehow, maybe not the same as, like the same as many wins as Brady, but do you think that kind of gives him like a bump up because he's won 3 in a row? Or do you think you still got to beat Tom Brady, or at least tie Tom Brady's numbers, Super Bowl wins?
J-Lo, we'll let you get the first crack at it. I'll get into what I think in a minute, but J-Lo, you go first quickly on that.
I feel it's the amount of Super Bowl wins. I mean, yeah, if he wins 3 in a row, he'll definitely put himself in the history books. That's something Brady had never done. But to me, I feel, he's got to get at least tie or pass over Tom Brady's Super Bowl wins, on my opinion, before you
if
can
they
say
tie.
better.
If they tie, but he's got the 3 in a row, what do you think? Do you think it makes a difference?
No, I don't. Oh, man, this is tough. I don't personally, only because, we've seen like 3 dominant decades of Brady, and don't get me wrong, Mahomes is great, and he's off to a very fast start, but if he somehow gets this one, that'll likely mean, and if him and Brady only end up tied, that'll probably mean down the road he would sputter out a little bit, right? Not in terms of being a great quarterback or whatnot, but potential Super Bowl wins, because he's still probably got, 10 to 13 years, a good bit ahead of him. Then he would only need 3 at that point. The thing that amazed me about Brady, it's, we do have a little bit of breaking news from Jordan Schultz here saying, while further discussions are expected, the overwhelming belief is that the Jets are unlikely to move forward with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback in 2025. So seems like Aaron Rodgers in New York will be done. But I'd say, JC, personally, I think if it's 7-7 I still would give the edge to Brady because in theory that would mean Mahomes would probably have a and he would probably end a lot worse than Brady did somehow, if that makes sense. Brady showed his dominance there at the end. Obviously, here came 2024 or 2022. I'm sorry, and that was a little bit of a different story. But he had a lot of things going on, and even in his weak year in 2022, you still pull up the stats, and they're still pretty damn incredible.
And
Even
he's
if
a 6th-round pick.
exactly, that's the other thing. One was a first-round pick. One was a 6th-round pick. And will Mahomes win his all with Kansas City, or will he take a leap of faith like Brady did, and will he win it? Because to me, that's a big one too. Not only does Brady have 7 rings, but personally, I view him going to the Bucs more important and valuable than a three-peat for Mahomes. So, say they end up at 7 and Mahomes wins his all with the Chiefs. I'd be like, well, look, Brady was able to go to a very lowly Bucs franchise and pretty much get them into perennial playoff contenders. Oh, and win them the Super Bowl and do all this stuff. So,
and in a COVID year too, so I think that kind of plays into it as well too, where you didn't have the necessary time that you would to kind of get to know your teammates, get the off. Everything was very under the bubble, so to speak. It was a weird season. So I think that kind of plays in Brady's hands too. I think even if they tie, I think Brady still gets a nod, depending on what Mahomes' passing records and what he can do. But his numbers have tailed off the last couple of years. He hasn't been throwing the 50 touchdowns and the 5,000 passing yards. They're winning in different ways. So, and I think that's a good testament for Mahomes too, is you look at Brady, they won in different ways. They had that one year with Corey Dillon and, the defense, and then they won with that Rams game, which was just a ground and pounded out type of thing. So, yeah, it's interesting. It will be interesting. Of course, Mahomes has got to win this one first to even continue that conversation. But it's a conversation that I think will happen a lot. You'll hear it a lot on ESPN and stuff. People will talk about, Mahomes' path to being better than Brady or whatnot. Because I think as skills-wise, it's close. I think maybe Mahomes, he's just got the escapability, and the things he's done out of structure have been amazing, but no one could operate a pocket like Brady. Breaking news, Deebo Samuel is looking for a trade.
Yeah, so here we go on Super Bowl Sunday. We got all this news flying in. Seems like Aaron Rodgers and Deebo Samuel will both need new homes in the year of 2025. Kind of saw that coming with Deebo. He had a really bad year last year. His attitude was piss poor. They gave a lot of money to Brandon Ayuk as well. They still have Kittle. They're paying McCaffrey a lot. To me, the Niners need a little bit of a retooling. Nothing against him, but, this could be a much-needed move in the right step. Richard says, yo, happy Super Bowl Sunday, everyone. Happy Super Bowl Sunday indeed. Richard, our guy. We love you, brother. Glad you are here joining us. A great listener of the shows, and we love our lady listeners. Lucky Lucy, good day, guys, from sunny Florida, 80 degrees. We got a nice little sunlight here in Chicago, so it could be worse here in the Chicagoland area as well, but I know I was just in the 85 degrees in Bahamas, so I know what you're feeling. Last NFL game for 6 months. Don't be sad it's over. Be happy because it happened, right? Or that cheesy saying, however the hell it goes. JC, let me ask you this. We do have a Charlie Strong question, and a lot of Bucs news happened while I was out there in Bahama land. Thoughts on Charlie Strong, JC, and how he'll fit in with this coach and staff and this Bucs team in particular? Are you a fan of the move? I mean, he has a very credentialed resume. He was a college football head coach at 3 to 4 spots. Had some good times in each of those spots. So what's your thoughts on Charlie Strong?
Yeah, experience. You mentioned it. The credentials that he has. Head coach at USF, at Texas, at Louisville. I think there's one more in there. And then, just the organizations that he's been with too. Florida, back when they were under the Urban Meyer era, when they were just destroying people. And, you look at what he did with Alabama the last couple of years too, working as an assistant over there. It's a strong move. I don't think a lot of people have that on their bingo card, but it's certainly a strong move for the Bucs. They get a experienced, someone who has a lot of knowledge when it comes to what's going on in the college game and how to adapt that to the pro level. He's obviously developmental wise. He's developed a ton of different players at his spot. So I think it's a great move. You look at this defensive line room, and I'm sure they'll add to it either through the draft or free agency. Maybe they bring Greg Gaines back. It looks like Golston's probably going to retire, but I think the development that they can provide for any young guys they bring in, as well as for the guys who are already established in Vea and Cansey, and we saw Logan Hall finally take a jump. I think it's a good move for the Bucs. Another veteran kind of coach that has intangible leadership skills and can provide a new voice for that defensive line room.
Hey, Richard giving JC a kudos, saying strong move, pun intended, JC. So there you have it. I always view it, and I know it doesn't hold true all the time, obviously, and you could go back and depict a lot of scenarios in NFL history where it doesn't hold true. But my personal belief and thought is anytime you could get a college football or NFL head coach as an assistant coach, not a coordinator, but assistant coach, to me, that could only provide benefits because that means these guys at one point were trusted leader of men, mentors, good football minds enough to lead these programs. And now you're asking them just to lead a particular unit for a program. So I think the strong move is a good one. I'm a fan, although I did love Casey Rogers. His interviews are always great. He was awesome, entertaining, got right to the point. Some changes needed, I guess, sadly. And J-Lo, I want to get your thoughts here on the strong hire.
It's a good hire. Of course, me being a Gator fan, I enjoyed watching him being a defensive coordinator over the years at Florida. He's a very good defensive mind. Maybe not the best head coach at certain points, but I think he did a great job at Louisville. Texas, he had a little bump in the road. They only gave him like 3 years and they canned him. And then he ended up going to USF, had a good couple seasons, and then his third season went downhill and he got canned there, which I don't understand. But it's a good hire. I think he'll be a great beneficial when it comes to the D-line part of it, good experience. And like JC said, translated from college to the pro level, that's one thing I was hoping for on the next hire, because he's from the college world. So he'll know how to get these young players ready to go on NFL Sunday.
Yeah, I did love the learning concepts that Rodgers brought to the table. Like he had every D lineman kind of study a unit and whatnot, but I'm sure Strong will bring fresh perspective, fresh ideas. Before we bring Katz in here quick, I know Katz is on top of the damn world. His guy got nabbed as the Bucs offensive coordinator. That's a blessing. A lot of big Grizzard guys. We'll get into that here shortly. JC, we're going to tie a bow on the defensive side of things. I know it happened a little bit of time ago now, I believe about a week ago, but JC, thoughts on Larry Foote coming back to the Bucs, and is this the end of the Bucs adding to their coaching staff on defense, or do you see other trinkets and shakeups to be made along the way?
Yeah, so that's really interesting because obviously he was the co-defensive coordinator with Casey Rogers. Now that Rogers is gone, and Larry Foote interviewed for the Lions defensive coordinator spot. Does he come back as a defensive coordinator? Does he stick around as a inside linebackers coach? A lot of these organizations, especially new ones that have made some coaching changes, have announced their coaching staff. The Bucs have yet to do that. We obviously saw they add Kefense Hinson as a passing game coordinator on the offensive side of the ball. So we'll see if there's any more moves made on the defensive side of the ball, including maybe getting another coach in and maybe naming him the defensive coordinator. And we'll see kind of if they make any moves in the secondary with Kevin Ross or Nick Rapone or, George Edwards at outside linebacker. It looks like they're not going to be making any moves right now, but you really never know. Larry Foote's good for continuity. Inside linebackers last year, you saw what Levante did, but it's more Levante than Foote, I think. But we'll see what he can do with some better linebackers to work with. So it's a good move for continuity's sake, I feel like.
Yeah, and before we bring in Katz, thoughts since you brought him up, quick, JC, Kefense Hinson, we're going to get into Grizzard here in a little bit, but he's one of those young upcoming football minds. He's only 44, 45 years old. He obviously got named the pass game coordinator here. Just before us, he was a wide receiver coach and pass game coordinator at Oregon State. Has a little bit of coaching experience, head coach wise, as he was Oregon State's interim head coach for a period of time as well. Very credentialed background. Kind of came out of nowhere in Buck world. JC, thoughts on this hire? As he did coach a Sun Bowl for 2023 in Oregon State, but new Bucs pass game coordinator Kefense Hinson.
Yeah, I think it's a good move because of the experience. Obviously, none at the NFL level, but he's obviously, someone who Grizzard holds in high esteem over there. Someone who's been a part of his coaching journey for a long time. And, that's not uncommon to see guys bring in people who have been important parts of their coaching career. You saw it with Cohen bringing in Brian Picucci, right? That was a big one of Brad Carberry, who he served time with. And then obviously with Dave Canales, he brought in Brad Itzik. And obviously he's the offensive coordinator of the Panthers right now. So it's a good hire for him because it gives him someone who's going to tell it like it is. He's not going to be a yes man to him. He's one that's Grizzard was talking about him. He's told me, if I should take a job or not take a job. And he told me, so he's clearly not a guy who's going to sugarcoat it just to sugarcoat it for him. So that's always good. But it's also good to have a guy in your corner, too, that can, have your back in certain times. If you feel a certain way, maybe the staff feels differently, that can be like, hey, go to bat for you, so to speak. So it's interesting. It's an interesting move because he's never coached at the NFL level. But again, with the passing game, so much of a part of the NFL landscape, and obviously so much a part of the college landscape too. He brings that experience that, okay, maybe they saw something in college that NFL teams aren't doing or doing regularly that they can input and add to the playbook, and see that. There also could be looking for a pass game specialist too, now that John Van Dam left for the Jags. So again, same thing with the defensive side of the ball. Not really sure if the offensive side, I asked him about that, the presser. He said, they had just found out about it because it had literally just broke like right before his presser, that he'd get with Todd and Jason, see how they want to address that. So, we've got a bit of time before things start ramping up here for, the combine and everything like that. To me, I feel like the defensive side's probably going to stay around. They're going to make a move. I feel like they would have already done it. The offensive side, adding a pass game specialist, late into draft prep isn't going to kill you. So, it's we'll see what they do on the offensive side. But as far as adding Kefense Hinson as the pass game coordinator, I think it has nothing but positives.
And JC, to piggyback off you as well, I think, adding more titles and structure into the mix, you do potentially have more chances at retaining your next OC in-house then, right? Because instead of just maybe promoting the quarterbacks coach or wide receiver coach, next thing you got a pass game coordinator, pass game special, a lot more continuity could be had. Say, God forbid, Bucs get poach of Grizzard next year, but you do add more to the coaching staff. Maybe one of those guys could emerge.
I think it's a matter of time before the coaches push for pass game coordinator, run game coordinator to be on the level of an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. I feel like, that's the way it's trending, especially when you're seeing more and more of these pass game coordinators get hired as offensive coordinators. I feel like that's the direction that the league will probably be trending in. So teams are unable to block as many as coaches as they can. Because remember, this just goes back to like 2020 when they started this kind of ruling here. There, it has to be for an OC, DC, or ST. So we'll see how that plays out. But it's always good to have ammunition in the barrel in case you need it, just in case the Bucs lose another offensive coordinator after this season.
Yeah, we'll see if they could copy the Wendy's and go 5 for 5. What is it, the biggie bag or something? 5 items for $5, 5 OCs in 5 years. Cats, welcome in, brothers. Richard says, welcome back, Tones. Hope you had a great vacation. Thank you, Richard. And real quick, what made Charlie Strong fail as head coach? I don't think he necessarily failed because he did have a very good year at South Florida, went 10-2, won the Birmingham Bowl. he had Louisville buzzing. I think his pivotal mistake, like Tony A said, he wouldn't have left Louisville. I think he was in a little over his head at Texas. So I think he was 74-53 as a head coach. I don't think he technically failed. I think he just handled his situation wrong. But speaking of bullets in the chamber, that's what we got Cats for. Cats, how the hell you doing, brother? Welcome into the show. It's Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, and yeah, Josh Grizzard. Apparently I was not like the first person to say I wanted Josh Grizzard to be the next OC. Apparently that was a big thing going on, but I'd like to think I was the first to think about it. No, I assumed from the beginning, Liam was going to leave. So I started looking at who on the staff would be the best guy to replace him, and I looked at his credentials and his past and who he's worked under and worked with, and I thought, just looked at his third down conversion rate, and I figured that's the best guy to promote from within, keep some continuity, but you always evolve, of course. You don't want to. Continuity doesn't mean stay stale, but you need some level of it because Baker deserves that. Look at this. He's gotten helped two guys get head coaching jobs. And hey, if Grizzard leaves because he's getting a head coaching job, that'll mean our offense had a heck of a year. That's the way I look at that.
Yeah, that is very true. If we do lose Grizzard, that means he earned his worth, and he was good enough to get promoted somewhere. So good point, Cats. I kind of like that glass half full mentality. Hey, God bless at this point. Yeah. If you lose him. What does piss me off, though, and I know this is overlooked and not really the center of attention, but since we're talking about losing all these OCs over the years, they got to change the rules on who's awarded comp picks for grooming minorities and whatnot, because when the Bucs lost Dave Canales, we didn't get any comp picks because of the 1-year rule bullshit. To me, it shouldn't matter if they're in your organization for 1 year or 5 years. If you're going to reward someone for grooming a head coach to get comp picks, Dave Canales should have rewarded us some comp picks. It's not the Bucs' fault that somebody liked him enough after only one season to hire him away. Now you see the Lions get a couple of good comp picks for Aaron Glenn and his departure. Sure, well-deserved. But if you're going to do that, to me, you got to be consistent and give it to all teams because, I think it's bullshit.
We got one for we got a 5th rounder for one of them going to Doug Peterson's staff, and I can't remember the guy's name now.
Mike Caldwell.
Caldwell, yeah. I don't think. Yeah, did we get a 5th for him?
No, because it's only. I don't think so.
No, we got something. I believe it was a 5th. Or it was a 6th. We got something. It probably was a 6th. We were expecting the 3rd rounder for Leftwich. That didn't end up happening, and
Caldwell would have brought them a 3rd round draft pick.
He was only hired as an assistant, so it only got us a 5th. He was
hired as their defensive coordinator.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I don't think we got a 3rd though, because it wasn't hired as a head coach. I think they screwed us on that.
Yeah, I remember some confusion going on because the rule changed right about that time as well. But yeah, he did end up going to Jacksonville for their defensive coordinator role there. So
under Urban Meyer?
Yep, that was under Urban Meyer. Uncle Herb, J-Lo's favorite Herb.
I thought it was under Peterson. Well, one of the two. I don't know. One of the two.
Well, he started under Urban. He started under Urban and ended under Peterson.
Even if you lose an OC, it doesn't need to be a 3rd for a minority. But if you lose your DC, you should get a 5th round pick or something, or your
especially if they become a head coach,
a 5th round pick or something like that.
Yeah, because they're giving out draft picks, like candy. I did learn recently this week, and I didn't know this because I was just reading on the Bucs website about this is kind of not going totally off topic, the state of division rivals. I was talking about the Falcons. I didn't realize they were docked draft picks for inappropriate contact with Darnell Mooney, Kirk Cousins, and one other free agent. Can't keep their hands off people, can't act appropriately. You fucking pigs.
Early,
I hate the Falcons. I hate them. I didn't like how Rich McKay left the Bucs. Not that he's got any say in personnel anymore, because he was lousy at it in Atlanta. He's pretty good here, very good here. But whoever the hell the GM is and their creepy owner, I mean, I didn't see any other teams getting docked draft picks for inappropriately tampering, because you can legally tamper. How do you actually get caught? What a bunch of idiots. I just thought it was funny.
Well, the whole system needs to be gutted between the tampering, the comp. Every little thing is just, if you look into it, it's just all fraudulent. guidelines, more to speak, that are broken, bent, and then
Right.
nothing happens if that happens.
They got
So,
docked, though. Well, they got docked because clearly it's something ridiculous to actually get caught. They must have, really had unprofessional dealing.
we do have a little more breaking news, not the biggest of news, but earlier it was announced that Aaron Rodgers likely not to be back with the Jets.
Mhm.
Deebo Samuel likely to find a new home, and now we have some coaching news as the Bills are parting ways with their special teams coordinator Matthew Smiley, it's reported. So the Bills maybe have an upgrade to be had, and maybe that could be for special teams coordinator. So we'll see what happens. Bills doing a shakeup. Speaking of shakeup, J-Lo, Grizzard, his personality might be a little bit of a shakeup compared to the likes of Canales and the likes of Liam Cohen. How did you react to his first press conference as Bucs OC, Mr. J-Lo? What was it like breaking down, just everything from his mannerisms to his talking abilities and all that?
No, I mean, he seemed very humbled, very excited with the job. His approach was a little different compared to Canales and Cohen, but to me, I feel he's heading the right path. I like where he's going with it. He praised, Godwin, some of the other players. I think we'll get Godwin back. That's another discussion. But I like the continuity. He seems like he's going to be maybe not much of a Liam Cohen type play caller, but I think we'll have a little drop off because of his inexperience in play calling. But I don't think it'll be too much of a drop off. And I think, him, Baker will be able to work together and get this offense, going like it did last year. And the one thing I like about him when he talked about was, scoring points, and he likes to challenge, with, even with Godwin being out, he still said, that's the fun part, you develop these other players and make them, make plays. Like Ryan Miller was a big part of the, filling in whenever we were really short on receivers. And I think he can get the best out of, the bottom of the receiving core in case, God forbid, we get another injury because we have bad luck with that.
Yeah, I agree. And JC, we are getting some questions about Myles Garrett, blah, blah, blah. Maybe not Myles Garrett, maybe so Myles Garrett, JC, but thoughts on the Bucs' likelihood of going out and potentially trading or signing a big name edge rusher? We know there's a lot available or rumored to be available in trades. There's a couple available in the edge free agent pool as well. Quickly, before we continue to talk other Bucs things and Super Bowl thoughts on the Bucs going for an edge.
Well, first, I just want to touch on Grizzard real quick. I think when you saw Grizzard at the press conference, you could tell there was some nervousness there, and maybe it didn't. He didn't come off as maybe well spoken as Canales or Cohen. But when we got him one-on-one afterwards in the media room, he was much more relaxed, and you can see how bright. I mean, the guy went to Yale. You can see how smart he is. But you could kind of see his personality come out a little bit more. And I think, we said the same thing, too, with Bowles. Like, you guys don't see Bowles' personality all the time, especially not in the press conference. Other side, I'm excited! But, when we had him one-on-one, when he was announced as head coach, his personality came out a lot more, too. So I think Grizzard, the way that we saw him in the media for his first, obviously, press conference as the OC, we got him as a pass game coordinator last year, but obviously a lot less pressure than that. And the other version that we got, I think you can see where the players, where he kind of relates to the players. He's only 34, and all that, and why they're so excited to have him in. With Tristan Wirth calling him Grizz the Wiz, so they're calling him the Wizard. So as far as potential moves at edge, really, I don't think Max Crosby's going anywhere. I would love for the Bucs to be in Myles Garrett. It's going to cost 2 first-round draft picks, and I think the Bucs can spend that and still be in a good position, especially with some of the cap space they'll be able to create and have this offseason to add that other spots and potential moves that could make, trade, whatever, restructures. But I don't see Garrett likely. Everyone and Josh Capo and, anyone in Bucs media really, we're looking at Trey Hendrickson right now is one of the best options for them. Would probably cost like a second round this year, maybe a fifth round next year, something like that. Big contract as well. I think he'd be the most likely logical if they're going to make a move through the trade market. Obviously, Joey Bosa's name has popped up as being available as well, but he's been so off injured recently. And then Micah Parsons is the other one too, where it just came out that there's internal conversations going on in Dallas about whether they should potentially try to make a move and trade him. But and then you look at the free agent options. Khalil Mack, I'm not sure that moves the needle. Especially he's going to command around $20 million for at least 1 year. I don't know if that moves the needle a lot. There's really, if you're a Bucs fan and you want to get excited about a move, I think you champion a move for Trey Hendrickson. Or otherwise, they look at the first round in the draft, and there's some players there. I think Mike Green probably boosted himself out of the Bucs spot, but guys like James Pierce Jr. is another guy, like Mikael Williams, Jalen Walker. There's Kyle Kennard if they do the second round. There's some really good prospects. The only problem is like some of the good prospects that will be available to them kind of buck the trend of what Bowles usually goes for in his defensive lineman. I think we're probably all in agreement. We'd love to see them get someone that's more of a speedier, bendier, twitchier edge rusher, more than they've had in the past. But it's usually not Bowles' MO to draft that guy. But we'll see what happens. I still think the likeliest move if they do make a trade is probably for Trey Hendrickson. If not, they probably maybe look towards the draft. They've spent third, second, first-round draft picks there in the last 5 years. So we'll see if they want to spend another resource there as well in the draft. It'll be interesting to see what they do to round out this edge rusher room. I wouldn't rule out Anthony Nelson coming back either.
I have an idea.
Go on, Katz.
Because I saw it. It was written by a 49ers person. There's no real rumor that it's going to happen, but he suggested, and he mentioned only the Bucs, Leonard Floyd, that the 49ers would be looking to trade him. And I looked and I thought, well, that sounds like a damn good idea if the likes of Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson don't work out.
It's actually like a 4th or 5th round pick. It wouldn't be expensive.
No, and I believe he had 8 sacks this last year. He's still, I don't know how old he is. He's got to be over on the other side of 30, I think, but he's been effective for his whole career. I don't see where he's dropped off. So I think that would be a nice add. Assuming you don't get Garrett and Hendrickson I would love Trey Hendrickson. I liked him as a player with the Saints. I loved when he left the Saints. I think after he left the Saints, that was when Saints fans said, well, we never needed him anyway. They had Mr. Cam Jordan, who had, 2 sacks this year. Time to retire, bitch. But I think Hendrickson, what surprised me is that the Bengals, they're always known to be cheap. Are they really going to be that cheap and not retain a guy of Trey Hendrickson's ilk? Are they really going to do that on a team
They just gave Joe Burrow one of the largest contracts in NFL history, and they got to pay Jamar Chase, which will probably get the largest wide receiver contract in NFL history.
Right.
And then Trey Hendrickson wants around, almost $30 million. You got to start picking and choosing where you're going to spend that money, especially if you're trying to retain T. Higgins too. So
yeah, it's tough. But I just remember reading he was claiming that being Joe Burrow, we have the money. I guess he looks closely at the cap. I don't know, to re-sign all of these guys. Now that's a quarterback speaking. That may not be true. I haven't looked at the salary cap space. I don't think they have an actual GM.
They can make the move, but we're also talking about the Bengals ownership.
Yeah, it's Mike Brown. I know some things never do change, and he's known to not do that. So one can hope, because I'd love to have Trey Hendrickson here. What the price you mentioned, that's a bargain.
I think it'd be a steal. I mean, they're going to have to pay him, but I mean, if you can get someone, even if his sack numbers drop off to 12, 13, that's still better than what you're getting from your edge productions. You need someone who can be a double-digit sack guy year in and year out. And even
we have that.
3 years.
I mean, look how much different this defense looked when Shaq Barrett and JPP were here. Right. And it feels like, I know Shaq has returned, but you know what I mean. It feels like we've been trying to replace them with draft picks here and there. JTS, Diaby, Braswell. I haven't seen enough of Braswell to comment. Diaby shows he's a good player. I don't think he's ever going to be a true elite pass rusher, and do what JTS is. So it seems like it's been an effort to try to replace them and get that, and it just hasn't happened through the draft. And when that usually occurs, I say, all right, well, you probably got to look to trades and free agency, which is how JPP was acquired and how Shaq Barrett was acquired. Shit, that was how Simeon Rice was acquired back in the day. Somehow he fell into our lap as a free agent. We got him. The rest is history. He's not in the Hall of Fame, unfortunately. He should be. I'll die on that hill. But
He should
whatever.
be.
He should be. But, you get the point is that they've had to go a different avenue to obtain the edge rushers. Even Michael Bennett, who unfortunately that idiot Mark Dominic didn't resign, was a free agent signing. He was a very unheralded one. He turned out to be a great player here. And a great career. Yeah, great career.
The biggest question I have with trading for a Myles Garrett or a Trey Hendrickson is will Bowles be flexible enough to use them how they need to be used? And last year he dropped his outside linebackers in coverage the most he's ever done. A guy like Trey Hendrickson, a guy like Myles Garrett, even let's go with a guy like Josh Sweat. These guys aren't pass coverage edge rushers. They're defensive ends. They can do it, I'm sure, but they can't be doing it. They need, and that's the thing that always has pissed me off a little bit about Bowles is that he hasn't been one to use like a designated pass rush specialist, someone who can just rip the cord and go.
Didn't he do that with JPP and Shaq in the Super Bowl season and even when they were both here?
Yes and no, because they still had their obligations to set the edge, to be strong edge setters, to be guys who can drop back in coverage and cover the flat and cover the middle of the field when need to. We've seen Bowles come up with schemes where he's got Anthony Nelson and Kalijah Kancey as stand-up linebackers. Vita Vea is a stand-up linebacker.
Some of them work.
It's
interesting.
And I'm not saying he can't continue to do that, but I'm saying that if he is right, if he's going to get one of these guys, I would love for him to embrace a situational pass rusher who can just go or use these guys properly. And that's my biggest concern with getting one of those guys.
I read that in the Super Bowl season when he had JPP, and I don't remember what article I read it in, the rate of dropping those two into pass coverage was significantly less, and it's gone up.
Casey had no offensive line, so we're sending the boys.
Well, that too, their offensive line screwed up. But that whole year, I felt we were able to get pressure. We got pressure in the Green Bay game.
Oh, absolutely.
We got pressure with without having to do anything exotic. Obviously, you can mix those exotic blitzes in a lot more when you have reliable defensive ends and not drop them into coverage. And I know he dropped them less. You have guys like JTS. I mean, he's not getting to the quarterback anyway. And I think that's probably, if I were guessing, Bowles is looking at his defensive ends this past year and thinking, well, these guys probably aren't going to win their matchups one-on-one anyway. So I'll drop them into coverage and try something else. And, you didn't have, other than Levante, what other blitzing linebackers did we have? It's not like we had when Devin White was at his best. We blitzed him. He was effective. They didn't have that either. So, that's why it's another need as well. Because I know Todd Bowles loves a middle linebacker that can blitz, that can do a lot of things, and we just didn't have anybody. I mean, KJ Britt couldn't do it. Servassier Dennis looked very good, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy 2 years now. I don't know how many eggs they'll leave in that basket. Because we saw he can play. I know how well he graded out. The problem is, it's just he played 6 games, I think, in 2 years, maybe a little more than that. So I just don't know how you can expect him to be healthy. You can hope, but hope is not a good strategy.
No, I got to run, boys. I appreciate y'all having me on here. Chopping.
We love you, JC. Before you leave, quick, JC, just give us your final score for the Super Bowl. We already got your Saquon prop bet and quick thoughts on the Rumble. Just very quick.
Let's go 24-23 Chiefs. Thoughts on the Rumble, man. I was expecting it was good. I was expecting a little bit more. I thought the Cody KO match was excellent. I liked some of the surprises. I was still holding out for the Beast Incarnate to show up. I thought Jey Uso winning was a good call. Obviously, by the reaction on Raw and SmackDown, the IWC doesn't know what they're talking about. But excited for the build up to WrestleMania and continue to see who shines. And glad Alexa Bliss is back. And should be a fun road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, JC, thanks so much for joining us on Super Bowl Sunday, brother. We're always Super Bowl champions when the great JC Allen joins the Buccaneers podcast. So, JC, we appreciate you and the millions and millions that you bring into the show, buddy.
Acknowledge me. All right, later, guys.
Later, JC. That's a great JC Allen of Sports Illustrated and the Sick Media Network as well. So, very knowledgeable guy, one of the best in the business and most down to earth when it comes to covering our Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's always given time to the people. Speaking of people, we still got a couple questions left before we get to our wrap-ups and Super Bowl picks and all that. J-Lo, I'm going to ask you guys a different question each. J-Lo going to ask you one. Kat's going to ask you one. J-Lo, the Saints head coach opening, is Bucs Nation, says my guys. Good morning, Bucs Nation. Glad you're joining us today, sir. Thank you for joining us, man. We always love having you. Keep with us in the off season. Yep. Maybe there will be more giveaways to be had. You were one of the winners last year. Maybe you could win this year as well. So we appreciate you, Bucs Nation, greatly in all that you do for the Buccaneers. J-Lo, quick thoughts. Kellen Moore likely to be named the Saints head coach after Liam Cohen. Never say never, but all indications are that he will be the Saints' next head coach. Thoughts on that, how that impacts the Bucs in the NFC South?
Not much of an impact. I mean, to me, no one really wanted the Saints job because they're in cap hell. So unfortunately, they had to go, I guess, their call best route possible. I think Kellen Moore is just a decent play caller. I don't even think he's that great of a play caller, if you ask me. But for the most part, I think he'll be a 2-year type guy, and they'll end up canning him. So it benefits us, you know what I mean? Like, to me, it benefits us as far as, he's not really a threat, not a really elite play caller. So it just makes us look much better, as another contending for the NFC South again next season.
Yeah, Katz, now I'm going to look more internal. As the Bucs promoted Picucci, we were afraid he would maybe leave, but he's now our O-line coach. And Carberry's here to stay as a helping coordinator and, really man down the run game and stuff like that. And then we did lose Van Dam as our only loss to the Jaguars staff. Thoughts, Katz, on the Bucs shakeup offensively with those three playing musical chairs?
Well, it didn't seem Van Dam's contract was up, and I don't know if he was offered a new one or not. He'd been here, I believe, since Arians got here. I think he was the longest tenured of the group. So, and that's not knocking him. Maybe, it's a situation where Grizzard wants one of his own guys. He might have some ideas there. Because most of this coaching staff was brought in by Liam Cohen. And the Bucs said, hey, we're going to lose Liam Cohen. That doesn't mean you can. I mean, if he behaved himself, he would have been able to take his two O-line coaches with him. But remember, I said on the last podcast, I said, block everything. Block everything you can. And sure enough, they did. And then they did right by the two guys and promoted them, which also likely means a raise. So nobody can really sit there and say, oh, the Bucs blocked them and now they're going to be unhappy and they're screwing them over and preventing them. He didn't even offer them promotions to go to Jacksonville. He didn't offer either of them promotions. He just said, let me have them. The nerve of that guy. And good for the Bucs on saying, get fuck off. It's fine. Thanks for hiring them. And I appreciate Liam Cohen for hiring those two guys because they are great coaches. We've seen the results. They don't lie. So, in all seriousness, really, I appreciate that Cohen brought them in. They weren't here before him. But that doesn't mean, you got to go be a head coach. Hey, John Gruden couldn't bring any of his staff from Oakland when he came here because he was such a late hire. I'm glad that we were able to retain them. It's good on Jason Light and the group for promoting them both and giving them rewards. And they probably now hopefully, extend their contracts because they only were on 2-year deals. So I think they're both extended now. And here, hopefully, for the long haul with Josh Grizzard as we try to evolve this offense.
J-Lo, quick thoughts before we get on to our Super Bowl predictions, bets, and our final words for the program.
Oh, on the promotion stuff, what you're asking? I'm sorry. Yes.
Yep, on the promotions and Van Dam's departure.
Well, yeah, Van Dam, obviously, I think he got offered a better role in Jacksonville. Good for him. Best of luck to you, But as far as the two people you mentioned, Carberry and Bagucci, I think, they are big time, assistants in the offensive group. Carberry being the run game coordinator, which means it's going to keep our running game going and keep it more fluent, on that part because we ran the ball so well last year. And I think that's a big part of our offense to run the ball, get some play action going. I'm happy for both of them. Now the Jaguar fans can go complain about something else, try to throw whatever they can. And by the way, it was so funny when Jason Light, commented with the laugh emojis with this one dude kept posting whatever. What a joke. But anyway, long story short, I think we're in great shape, especially having Carberry Pagucci, upgrades, at their, coaching position and stuff.
We are going to get into some Super Bowl fun prop bets now, guys, as we are here on the Buccaneers. It's our last weekend of football kickoff show or Saturday showdown here on a Super Bowl Sunday special. We're going to have some fun with these novelty offers brought to you by Bet Rivers Casino in Illinois. That is what we use for our lines. Cats, we're going to start with you. Match to end with the scoregami. So the final score of the game has to have never happened before in NFL history. If you bet $10 and that happens, you would win $200. Are you feeling risky today, Kat?
No. I don't believe there'll be a score. God, I'm trying to think of now. You got me thinking of scores that have never happened, and it's amazing how many times a year we get a scoregami. Would we ever have one in the Super Bowl before? I don't know. Probably, nah. But no, I don't see it.
You're right, though. It's weird because it seems like every score's probably happened, but 2 or 3 times a year you hear a scoregami popping up, and it's like, all right, well, that's kind of cool, right? And some of them aren't the weirdest of scores, so just a fun bet to kind of keep an eye on and see if it I guess it's a hard one to kind of look up, though. I'm sure you could try and see what scores haven't been completed yet, but that would take a lot of research. J-Lo from
32-9 at scoregami when we beat the Eagles by that score. I feel like that was a scoregami, probably.
I'm trying to think. I would think so as well. I was trying to think about that, and I feel like the Bucs have gotten a playoff scoregami before.
11-6 was the NFC 1999 NFC title game. I think 11-6 at the time was probably a scoregami. Unfortunately,
I can't see too many teams ending on 11. That's really that's a tough route to get to.
Yeah.
On the 11, but from scoregami to the octopus, J-Lo, would you bet on the octopus happening? And the octopus is when a 2-point conversion is scored by the same player who scored the touchdown. So, for instance, if Barkley scores a touchdown and then gets a 2-point conversion, that is an octopus. If you bet $10, you would win 100, Mr. J-Lo. Is any octopus occurring in today's game?
As far as that goes, I can definitely take that bet with Saquon. I think he's going to get a couple scores tonight, and they could probably, if they have to play catch up, I can see them giving him the ball, at the 1-yard line to go for 2. So I'll take that bet.
Mr. Katz, any offensive lineman to score a touchdown in today's game? We've seen it in years past. $10 would win you 200 on that one.
Wow. The Chiefs seem to do more of the trickeration. Andy Reid always seems to save a couple of those. But I've not seen them throw to an O lineman, and the Eagles just are going to use the tush push if they're down there. So I'm gonna go no on that one.
J-Lo, you have a fun one here. Any quarterback to have a reception in this game? $10 to win $110. Will any quarterback, Pickett, Hurts, Mahomes, any of them, have a reception in today's football game?
I'll say no. I'm not confident, even though all bets are off, but I'm not confident in that. I'll say no to that bet.
Yeah, and it's funny you see Deebo Samuel reacting to his trade thing on Twitter, like, so thankful. It's like, bud, you're the one who put yourself in that situation. But
I don't understand it. He's in a good organization that's been, they had a bad year where they were all injured, but they've been a contending franchise for all this. So what, is he demanding a trade, or they're just saying they're going to trade him? What is the second one?
Yeah, he's pretty much granted. He requested a trade, and the Niners are granting him permission to go seek a trade partner. So, hey, God bless him.
What's his salary? How much is he making?
Too much. I think it's
he's in the 20s.
I think it's mid to high 20s. So
this is why I'm so thankful for Mike and Chris, and I do think Chris will come back. I really hope he does, because neither one of them has ever. I know Mike was annoyed with the contract situation, but he was very open and honest about it. He wasn't saying trade me, not whining. You don't see him whine. You never see either of these two guys complain or whine That's surprising. That's the Niners are a shrewd organization, and they'll probably get a lot for him. And Shanahan is a great play designer, so if they're healthy, they'll be a loss to them, but they'll probably go out and John Lynch is a smart guy too. Probably go out and figure out a way to replace him. Like I said, though, I still hope Leonard Floyd, because I read that article and I got to looking at Leonard Floyd and I said, man, that would be a really good acquisition if these bigger names don't come through. So I'm going to keep an eye on him.
Yeah, we will definitely keep an eye on that, and I do think the Bucs retain Godwin and add edges as well. Mr. Katz, back to you. Any player to have a pass completion, a reception, and a rushing attempt in today's game, $10 to win $75 there. So say Saquon throws a pass, catches a pass, and runs the football, you win.
Runs for a touchdown or just has a rushing attempt?
He just has to have a rushing attempt, a pass completion, and a reception.
Oh my goodness! I feel like for all three things, it should be more than a 10 for 75 payout.
I agree. I feel like that's probably the worst pay. Like if it's a pass attempt, that's one thing, but a pass completion is a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, two of those things are going to happen, very likely. That's probably why it's a low payout. I'm going to say no. I don't see the Eagles. I can't remember the Eagles running many trick plays. They're more of a. I know they did when they won with Nick Foles. That we remember. That was a different era, though, different coach and everything. With the offensive line they have, everything, it just seems like they wouldn't resort to that. And as far as the Chiefs go, it's got me thinking now that maybe, because they do bust out a trick play, but I still go no on that.
It is tough. J-Lo, second to last one. Then Katz closes us out of our Red Eyes Prop Bets Pick'em. Great Red Eyes honorary segment. J-Lo, any defensive player to record both a sack and make an interception, $10 to win $120.
I would say maybe Philly. I could see CJ Gardner-Johnson doing like a blitz and get a quick sack and then maybe get a pick off Mahomes. I could see that happening, so I would take that bet. I would bet on Philly with CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Katz, this is a 50-50 bet. Coin toss outcome before the first quarter. Heads or tails?
Heads.
I like that one. I think heads always seems to be the overlooked one, but often wins. Now, fellas, time for the score predictions. J.C. Allen had 24-23 Kansas City. Katz, where are you going?
31-30 Kansas City.
Wow, Kansas City. J-Lo, are you on the KC train or are you bucking the trend? No pun intended.
I really don't want to see the Philadelphia fans win it. I just can't stand them. They're scum. So for me, I say with the experience, I think Mahomes will make history and the Chiefs will win 34, Eagles 31.
I got Philly winning this one 27-24. I just think it's, the odds of probability are that Mahomes will lose a Super Bowl opposed to winning one just by how the odds of probability have worked in NFL.
He's lost one of them. We know which one he's lost. I mean, he's lost one of them.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's due for another, right? If you take it by, win-win, whatever.
Well, the Bucs were able to blow him out. We didn't leave any doubts. And, they obviously, and at the time, people seem to use the excuse for them on the O-line. But then since then, they've been winning these Super Bowls, so people don't seem to want to make excuses for them anymore. They're like, they got their ass kicked. Funny how history changes people's perceptions. I mean, the Bucs blew them out. It seems like anytime the Chiefs, if you don't blow them out or get like a 2-possession, like a 14, it seems like 10 points. There's some weird stat on Mahomes where his record when he's down by 2 scores is like he's got a winning record. I read that he's only lost 1 game indoors in his career. And there's all these wacky stats out there, that he's on the right side of it. And it's hard, with him and Spagnuolo and Reed having, had 2 weeks to prepare for it. I think the Eagles are the more talented team. I really do. They've got, elite. Their O-line and D-line are both terrific, maybe the best on both sides in the NFL. But it's just hard to go against, Andy Reid and Mahomes, especially with that extra week to prepare.
Man, that division next year, Reid, Peyton, Harbaugh,
Yeah.
And now Pete Carroll. You got a lot of douchery, but a lot of good football
You
brains.
might have 4 Hall of Fame. I don't know about all Hall of Famers, but you got at least a couple in there.
Which
Only
is
one of the
fun.
teams, but 3 of the teams have a quarterback, though, and one of them, I'm counting Bo Nix, I like to 0. One team still doesn't have a quarterback, though, and that's the Raiders. So,
Unless
we'll
Tom
see.
Brady pulls a Michael Jordan with the Wizards and comes out of retirement.
Oh, my goodness. Well,
And
maybe
that,
Jameis. Maybe Jameis will go there.
Jameis will find his way anywhere, it seems. So we'll
Absolutely. He's a great commentator. He's a great person. He's got a great personality, and this week he did there in New Orleans will help him get his next gig. I actually believe that. I enjoyed his commentary. I think he'd make more money and be more successful if he just retired and got into that business right now. But he'll get signed somewhere, and he'll probably be back up and probably find himself starting some games.
Giants.
I agree with you there. J-Lo, quick thoughts before our final words and our bets of the week.
I mean, for the most part, on the Jameis part, I think he'll find a job. There's a couple of spots he can go to and get a chance to go either be a backup or definitely start. For the most part, the bets were good. The Super Bowl predictions. I mean, I wish it was a tie. Truthfully, I don't want to see Mahomes make history. But then again, I just can't stand the Philly fans. They're very disgusting.
I can't either.
I just
Yeah,
don't-
and they live here.
Like the thing is, like, you know, if you win the AFC Championship game, go celebrate. Don't go terrorize the other fans. Like, keep it moving.
Right.
Even we as Bucs fans, when we win big games, we don't go rub it in. Well, at least some of us don't. We don't go rub it into the opponent's face. You know, we just tell them good game. You know, and then go and celebrate the win. That's what matters. Why go pick a fight and cause drama and then go terrorize your downtown area? You know, and that's so ridiculous. So anyway, that's just my opinion on the Philly.
Yeah, I agree. And also, they're on our schedule again next year to come here. Now, their fans are always going to be a ton of them here, and we kicked their ass the last 2 times they've come here. But they're even more obnoxious if they're coming off a Super Bowl win. Whereas if they've come off a Super Bowl loss, they're a little bit more grounded. And also, when you lose a Super Bowl, the odds are you're not going to get back the next season. Usually, you don't get back there when you lose it.
Yep, I agree
Even the
with you.
Chiefs didn't get back the next year when they
And
lost.
that's why I think the Chiefs lose today and lose next, because Mahomes won and then lost, and he won 2. Now he's due to lose 2. It's, how the world works out there.
Yeah.
So I think the Eagles win. Mr. J-Lo, your bet of the day, we're going to stick it to the Super Bowl. So it could be any little Super Bowl bet, whether it's as simple as a team winning or as crazy as one of the bets we talked about. What is your bet of the day? And not only your final word for the show, but wrap up the football season with the final word for the 2024-2025 NFL season.
So I just placed a bet a few minutes ago, and I'm gonna go.
You're
with-
multitasking?
Yeah, pretty much. But but I'm gonna go with Dallas Goedert under 52.2 receiving yards. I think he'll definitely be under. I don't see him getting that many touches because of Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, and also Smith. So that'll be interesting. That's my bet of the day. Win some quick cash on that one. That's an easy one to pick. But yeah, as far as the football season goes, I mean, it sucks with the matchup. I know most of us didn't want it. I felt, there were other teams deserving, but that's a whole nother story. But as far as being a Bucs fan, we came up short in the wild card game. I was there live with my child. It was the first playoff game. I just feel that with the defense, that probably would have pretty much put a nail in the coffin on trying to make a run. But I feel with now that we moved on and we know what we need to adjust the defense, maybe sprinkle a little bit in the offense, but not much. I feel we're maybe 2 or 3 players away on defense to really make a run for a Super Bowl, whether it's rookie defensemen or vets. I know this is our Super Bowl window. Now we're going after tonight's game, we're in the Super Bowl window to where we can make some right moves and actually contend next year because the NFC is wide open. Realistically, yeah, the Eagles are the team this past season, but like you mentioned, Cash, we beat the shit out of them twice. We own Philly. They love playing us, so I'm not too worried about them. I think the Niners are going to go downhill. I just don't think they're going to be contending.
Well, we
anymore.
got a lot of off season too to break down who's going to be what. But yeah, I agree with you. It's been a wild ride, and it sucks because I do think if the Bucs beat Washington, they could have maybe went further. But we're talking final word for this year, not beginning word of next year. Cat's final word for the 2024-2025 season. And one bet you like from today's football game.
Well, I don't know. This wasn't listed, but I can pick anything to happen for today's
Anything
game.
can happen. Anything
Well,
you want.
I would say Jalen Hurts is going to score a rushing touchdown. I'm sure the payout on that is not very good.
It might not be a terrible one. Let's see here. I'll look. I bet you if you bet 20, you'd win like 10 or something like that. Let me look it up.
Tush push.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
That's a good bet.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
I-
it's actually pretty good. If you bet Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown, $10 would win you 9. So that's not
10 to
bad.
win 9. Really? I'm surprised. And that would be a rushing touchdown only, correct?
Anything besides passing. So if he rushes, catches, or recovers a fumble, you win.
Anytime they're inside the 2, it seems like they do that play. And if they don't get it the first time, they do it a second time and they get it. So that would be my bet. It was, as for the season, it was a fun season for the Bucs. They were an entertaining team to watch. We were a good team. I thought in the season we might have a shot. Then when the injuries on defense started happening, you started to see them sag defensively, and they didn't play terribly against Washington, but again, was just not quite good enough. They couldn't quite, I don't know, sync everything together. Obviously, Jamel Dean getting hurt again probably put an end to our season, I thought, even if we'd advanced. But it was a fun season. Now we are into this. Now we're at the point, though, where it's like, all right, we got to ramp it up and truly start to go for it now. And I'm looking forward to next season coming off this season.
I'm very excited for next season. I think Todd Bowles and the Bucs are putting together something special, and I think we might not get to the Super Bowl, but I do think we'll get to the NFC Championship. But that's neither near nor there. One word to wrap up this year was fight. I think this Bucs team showed a lot of fight. I think they showed a lot of heart between when fans counted them out, media counted them out, injuries. I mean, injury after injury after injury, and I'm not giving excuses. Again, another first-year offensive coordinator, a lot of new parts on this Bucs team, a new special teams coordinator, a punter who we thought could have been an all-pro punter was released midway through the season. This Bucs team had a lot of quirkiness to deal with between the personnel, the injuries, the fans, and everything. And one thing, what they kept doing was fighting. So fight for this Bucs team. That's what sums up my 2024-2025 season for the Bucs. Right when you thought they were down and out, they threw a jab right back at you, got back up, and put themselves right front and center in the ring. And that's the thing with Todd Bowles. His resiliency is incredible. The past 2 seasons, really his 3 seasons as head coach, he had to deal with a whole bunch of bull crap and still made his way to the playoffs every single time. Oh, and not only made the playoffs, he won the NFC South for 3 straight seasons. So I know a lot of people want to run Bulls out the door quick, and I will agree. If we don't get to the playoffs next year, we have that conversation. But for this time, this is our leader, and he is a great leader of men, in my opinion. My bet for today, if I could pick one bet from today's football game, give me the Eagles plus. I'll bump it up to 3.5. So if you bet 20 on that, you'd win 12. I don't think the Eagles lose this game by more than 3. So give me Eagles at an altered spread plus 3.5. $20 would win you $12. So I got Eagles altered spread at 3.5. J-Lo Goater under receiving yards. Cats Hurts TD. Any other words, fellas, before we bounce out? It's been a lot of fun. We will still be back on weekends in the off season. Don't worry. But for this year, it's been fun. Any final words, fellas?
Go ahead, Cats.
Go Bolts, too.
Yep, go Bolts and go Rays, go Cubs. Those will be the 3. I already rule out the Chicago Bulls for me. So, go Bolts, go Rays, and go Cubs.
3 wins in a row for the Bolts. They've been playing better. They got a game with 1 today against Montreal, and then we're going to have the 4 Nations face-off, which selfishly, all I really care about is I don't want any of our players getting hurt. That's all I really care about. And I feel so bad because I know how badly these guys want to win. It's big, it's a big deal. The 4 Nations, John Cooper's coaching Canada. There's about 5 Bolts are participating, but don't anybody get hurt during this event, please.
Should have saved it for the end of the season, in my opinion. I know things don't work out like that, and it's much like how the World Baseball Classic was right before. You just hold your breath and go, I hope I don't see one of my guys go down out there. So, J-Lo, I'm sure you could agree with us there that let's keep our Bolts safe and healthy.
Absolutely, yeah. I got a good feeling this team will get continuity. They'll make a couple moves in the trade deadline. They always do, and I feel like they'll be competitive in the playoffs. there's only 2 teams, we can talk about another time, but I feel the Bolts got every core piece to make a run for another Stanley Cup as far as that goes. And then the Rays, we'll see what happens. They did add, Gold Glove, shortstop. We'll see how that goes.
They'll have a historic season regardless, just playing where they are, right?
Oh, yeah, outdoors. It's going to be lovely. I know it's the fans in Tampa are excited, to have them in Tampa for the season. That's the way it should be, but that could be a whole nother discussion with that one as well. But for the most
Maybe
part,
we'll have a Tampa-based sports special in the offseason where we talk Lightning and Rays, and we'll still talk Bucs things happening, but we'll focus more so on the other Tampa teams because I think we could have a 2-hour pod on just those teams alone. So
our owner Stu needs to make up his mind. That's the bottom line. It's always hanging over us, and it's now he said we got to make a decision. Make it. It's been old.
It's getting, it's like when a movie has like 1 week left in movie theaters. It's like, come on, dude, you're in or you're out at that point. Some theaters are changing the screens already.
Right.
This has been the same old swore for, 2, 3, 4, 5 years now, and it is getting rather tiring. So either keep the team or get the hell rid of it, bud. And
tell them if you can't afford it, sell the team. I mean, it's
let that owner treat them with respect, So
yeah.
And they got owners in Tampa, minority owners that can step in. And
Vinnick, I heard, might be interested in the Rays if it's a possibility. So
interesting.
Like I said, until he sells the team, we'll never win a World Series with that bozo as an owner. That's just how I feel as a Rays fan. Until he sells the team, the Rays will never ever win a World Series. Maybe compete close to it, but they'll never.
They've been very close. They've been close. I just, I like him a lot as far as an owner. He's hired some great people, and I got to give him a ton of credit for that. He's done that. It's just unfortunate that this stadium issue it looked like it was resolved, and it wasn't, and now it's not. Now it's hanging over us, and we're wondering what's he going to do. And it's been going on for over a decade. It's constantly, will they stay? Will they go? We thought we had it set. They're staying, and now we're back to square one again until we hear otherwise. So that's tough as a fan. It's exhausting.
My final word as a Tampa sports fan for the program is it's interesting, right? Because we're the one team, or we're the one sports town where it's probably the hardest because all these teams are pretty consistent nowadays, at least having a winning culture. So we're probably the one city where it's hardest to pick the next big team, right? Boston, you easily name the Celtics, or you look around Chicago right now, you got the Cubs at the forefront. When it comes to Tampa, you could really make a case for any of the three without sounding like an idiot. So kudos to Tampa for at least maintaining sports relevance for all these years. But Brother Cats, Brother J-Lo, hope everybody enjoys their last football game of the season today for college, NFL, any league out there. Very sad, but off season, always an exciting time, and we'll have a lot to talk about, including specials with the Rays, Lightning. We're going to do some stadium saga and so much more on the Buccaneers. You two enjoy your Super Bowl Sundays. J-Lo, we were in Orlando last week. Now we're in Chicago. Cats, we'll see you very soon as well, my friend.
Absolutely. Take care, y'all.
Fire the damn cannons. Take care, everybody. Until next time on the Buccaneers, we'll see you for quote-unquote next football season. Goodbye, everybody.